Welcome back to the Flying with the Flock podcast, the best place to get all of your Eagles and other NFL-related news. I'm your host, Matt, and we have made it to the Eagles bye week, ladies and gentlemen. That means there will not be an Eagles game this weekend, so you will not have the same kind of anxiety that spikes whenever Sunday comes around and the Birds are playing, or Thursday night, or Monday night. But before we jump into this past weekend's domination of the New York, no, they haven't earned the New York title, the New Jersey Giants, I would like to ask you guys to leave a like and subscribe down below. It is much appreciated, especially if you're new around here, to show your support. I don't miss a single thing of it, and at the end of the day, you don't know how much it means to me. So, thank you in advance. So, with all the pleasantries out of the way, let's jump right into it. So, the Philadelphia Eagles beat the New Jersey Giants 38-20. Now, the score is kind of deceptive in the sense that the Giants really did not score that much until like garbage time. It should really be closer to like 38-13 at max. Look, just breaking it down, Jalen Hurts, 15-20, 179 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. Saquon had his biggest game of the year so far with 14 carries for 150 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Through the air, he also had 4 receptions for 24 yards and a touchdown. Tank Bigsby also had a pretty big game when he got touches for Barkley. He had 9 carries for 104 yards. Hurts also had a little bit of yardage on the ground as well. He had 4 carries for 22 yards. Through the air, Devontae Smith led the charge with 6 receptions for 84 yards. Jahan Dotson had 1 reception for 40 yards and a touchdown. That was a massive touchdown right there. Dallas Goedert had 3 receptions for 28 yards and 2 touchdowns on National Tight Ends Day. So congratulations to Dallas Goedert. He enjoyed himself a good National Tight Ends Day. And that's really anybody of note that caught any balls. Defensive-wise, they were not able to force any interceptions or any fumbles, but they were able to get several sacks on the quarterback, with Jalen Hunt getting a sack, Zach Bond getting a sack, Moro Jomo, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. So today was really a sack party, and this defensive line started to figure out how to work their magic again. Going over to the Giants side of things, Jackson Dart went 14-24, 193 yards and 1 touchdown through the air. He also had 6 carries for 17 yards and a touchdown. Tyrone Tracy was their lead rusher, which we'll get into why here in a second, with 10 carries for 39 yards, and Cam Skattebo had 3 carries for 12 yards. Skattebo also had 1 reception for 18 yards and a touchdown. Wan'Dale Robinson led the charge receiving. He had 3 receptions for 48 yards. Devin Singletary had 1 reception for 28 yards. Darius Slayton had 2 receptions for 26 yards. Daniel Bellinger had 1 reception for 21 yards, and Theo Johnson had 3 receptions for 20 yards. And defensive-wise, they were only able to sack Hurts 3 times, it looks like. So they were not able to apply as consistent pressure as they were in their Thursday night win over the Eagles back in Week 6. They also weren't able to force any turnovers as well, which did not help them close the big gap that they had in the game overall. So, there is one big injury that kind of came out of the game, that obviously being the rookie sensation of Cam Skattebo. Now, me and Cam Skattebo have had an interesting history. in a sense that I followed him last season at his senior season at Arizona State University when he was running with a full head of steam against top 5 teams in the playoffs, even too. But ultimately, he really showed out during his rookie season. His season's over after a dislocated ankle. Overall, it feels like the Giants have now lost their swagger. Jackson Dart lost his swagger. Giants overall lost their swagger. They had it maybe for a couple games, but then the Broncos comeback win and the Eagles just absolutely decimating them has killed any form of momentum that the rookie sensations Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterby were able to build for the franchise this season. And with some of the teams that they have coming up, it's not going to get much easier. 49ers, Bears, Packers, Lions, Patriots, Commanders. So it's not going to get any easier from here on out. And with that being said, their anchor of their team, which is their defensive line, did not show up to play today. Even against still an injured Eagles offensive line that's missing their starting center. And so it does really bring into question of who's going to have to win it for the Giants in able to save Brian Daboll's job. Because now that's what you're fighting for. You're not fighting for the playoffs at 2-6. Some people can make the argument, oh yeah, they're still in the hunt. They're not too far out. It's going to be hard. It's hard for the Panthers, who are 4-4, to get into the hunt. I mean, for a team to go 2-6 and have another bottom 3 season, this is gonna have to bring up a lot of questions within a house. And so I see a lot of the regime changing, general manager, head coach, and a lot of these veteran pieces might get shipped off to see what they can get. This defensive line should stay intact with Kayvon Thibodeau, with Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence. I still feel like they need another top-tier defensive tackle to put along Dexter Lawrence. But overall, and how do I keep forgetting about Abdul Carter? He just hasn't really made an impact, if you want me to be honest. He has not been defensive rookie of the year material. The only arguable players that you could say are defensive player of the year or defensive rookie of the year candidates, my apologies, is the 2 Eagles rookies, with Drew Mapuka already having 2 interceptions on the season and really playing stout at that safety position alongside Reed Blankenship and Jahad Campbell, who seems to be everywhere. He's in the backfield. He's in the secondary. He's in the flat. He's covering a wide receiver. So it really does bring up an interesting question of how much are they going to get out of Abdul Carter? If they can get more, maybe they can ship out a Kayvon Thibodeau for the highest bidder, and then get back maybe some draft capital and see if they can't build a solid offensive line, and maybe bring in a running mate for Malik Neighbors for when he comes back next season. Ultimately, Giants, it's going to be a long rest of the season, and it's time to probably barrel down. Y'all had your fun, and you guys might be able to pull off a couple more wins, but it's not going to be as many as you guys probably would have hoped after the Thursday night win against the Eagles. Moving over to the Eagles now. We're moving into what I would say is an interesting part of the season. So, obviously we're on the bye week. Coming out of the bye week, we go to, we're on Monday night against the Packers. Packers are a good top-tier NFC team, and this is for NFC seeding. Same thing with the Rams-Bucks games. Those were for seeding later down the line. So this game, and then the game following the Lions really matters. We have Packers, Lions, Cowboys, Bears, Chargers. That's a pretty hard stretch. And I do see us probably dropping a game in there. Maybe it's in Jerry World. Maybe it's against the Lions or something, but ultimately, this team is sitting at 6-2, which a few weeks ago, with how everybody was acting like the sky is falling, is kind of surprising, in my opinion. I am happy to say that ultimately the Eagles have found a way to win, and they found their way to win, which is passing. This passing game is efficient. Hurts could have anywhere between 100 passing yards to like almost 350 passing yards a game. It's whatever needs to be done to get it done. And now the running game has been found again. Saquon had 150 rushing yards in this game alone, and I don't know what he has on the season. He has 519 yards on the season. I think he finds a second gear here, and now he kicks it up. Gets it himself closer to like 1,200 to 1,400 by the end of the season. Ultimately, it does bring up a couple more questions of, okay, why couldn't we figure this out earlier? What's Tank Bigsby's role in the offense going to be moving forward? Because he's fairly efficient on the ground. Can we get Jalen Hurts' legs going early here so we can open up some more read option? And can A.J. Brown stay healthy with a hamstring to get us back to the Super Bowl? This defense is starting to find the rhythm a little bit, so I'm happy about that. I would like to see more turnovers start to be generated, even if it's just forced fumbles. But still, that was a huge part of why we were able to go on that run last season. So, overall, the Eagles, we are heading in the direction that looks most promising. The best thing that probably could have happened to us based off of where we were sitting the last few weeks, looking down at our record. Now we are through a hard part of our schedule. We got through... Listen to some of the teams that we've gotten through this season. The Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Broncos, and the Vikings. All these teams are arguably top-tier teams, and we got through the games. Doesn't mean we won every single one, and it doesn't mean it wasn't close, but we still won. Yes, we still have teams like the Packers, Lions, Cowboys again, Chargers, Bills, and Commanders. Commanders I'm not as high on. Bills can be shaky but can be good. Chargers I think we're a better team than. Cowboys I know we're a better team than. So it really just comes up to the next two matchups. If we can go 8-2, we are going to be sitting very pretty in the NFC East, because if you look at it, the rest of the teams, the Eagles are sitting at 6-2 as of recording this on Wednesday, October 29th. The Cowboys are sitting at 3-4-1. It should be 3-5, but the Packers don't know how to play football or manage clock. The Commanders are on a 3-game losing streak. They are 3-5. And the Giants are 2-6. So ultimately, we are sitting atop this division with a buffer. So moving forward, if we can get to 10-2 without question, we've won the division. From there on out, it's just finishing out the rest of the season strong and building up momentum while also maintaining player health. So, with all that being said, Eagles, this was overall a pretty good win. It was better than what the score shows. Giants should have probably been stuck at 13 or 10 if it wasn't for our backups coming in at the very end of the game. So, yes, good job, Birds. Enjoy the bye week. I know they've already been doing like Halloween parties and stuff, so enjoy the bye week. Giants, you guys have a lot on your plate coming up and still have a few weeks till your bye week. Good luck. All right, so we're going to hop into some of the other games because there's not a ton of other games that happened this past week since a lot of teams were also on the bye week. And then we're going to hop into some quick notes, my top 5 teams, and then my predictions for this coming weekend. Alright, so this past Thursday night, we had the displeasure of watching Carson Wentz and the Vikings take on Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers, and ultimately it was a rout. The Chargers completely decimated the Vikings, 37-10. Justin Herbert, he had himself a day. He went 18-25, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception through the air. On the ground, he also had 7 carries for 62 yards. Their lead rusher, though, was Kamani Vidal. He had 23 carries for 117 yards and 1 touchdown. Also, a guy to keep an eye on, Jarrett Patterson also had 11 carries for 30 yards. So I'm not sure what that means, but, they really ran the ball a lot during this game, which is nice to see that the Chargers are getting back to some of their identity. Ladd McConkey, he had 6 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown. He led the team in all receiving categories. The person behind him was Ordon Gaddison. He had the second. He had 5 receptions for 77 yards and 1 touchdown. Keenan Allen had 4 receptions for 44 yards. Kamani Vidal had 1 reception for 10 yards. And Trey Harris had 2 receptions for 8 yards and a touchdown. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept Wentz once, and they were able to sack the quarterback quite a few times. It looks like 5 or 6. So they just put the mush on Carson Wentz, and ultimately, it was not that hard to watch. I was going to say it was hard to watch. No, it wasn't. It was Carson Wentz, and nobody really likes him around here. Speaking of the embarrassment, Carson Wentz, he went 15-27, 144 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Eventually, Max Brosmer, the rookie, came in. He went 3 for 4 for 13 yards. Xavier Scott was their lead rusher. He had 2 carries for 16 yards. So I see where the problem is. Aaron Jones had 5 carries for 15 yards, and Jordan Mason had 4 carries for 3 yards. Their lead receiver was who else but Justin Jefferson. He had 7 receptions for 74 yards. T.J. Hockenson had 2 receptions for 26 yards, my apologies. Jordan Addison had 3 receptions for 26 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Jones had 2 receptions for 15 yards, and that's anybody else of note, realistically. And defensive-wise, they were able to intercept Herbert once, and they were only able to sack the quarterback twice, not able to get this normally high blitz rate defense. I'm blanking on the defensive coordinator's name now. Come on. Brian Flores. Yeah, normally this high blitz rate Brian Flores defense normally hits the quarterback a lot. They weren't really able to get home as much as they probably would have hoped to slow down Herbert and the Chargers. And ultimately, the lack of running the ball hurt this team so much because it forced Wentz to throw the ball and drop back and continue to get mushed into the ground by this Chargers defense. Ultimately, Chargers, it was a good win on prime time to help cement yourself as maybe a top team again. Vikings, y'all killed Carson Wentz. He is out for the rest of the season with an injury in his throwing shoulder. He will undergo surgery. And J.J. McCarthy, God bless your soul. Next up, we had one of the biggest upsets of the weekend, in my opinion, that being the Miami Dolphins beating the Atlanta Falcons 34-10. Atlanta, you can't do anything nice, can you? Atlanta, Kirk Cousins went 21-31, 173 yards through the air. On the ground, Bijan only had 9 carries for 25 yards. and nobody else of note really touched the ball. Oh, sorry, Tyler Algier had 4 carries for 4 yards and a touchdown. My apologies. Receiving-wise, Kyle Pitts led the team. He had 9 receptions for 59 yards. Kadarrell Hodge had 3 receptions for 31 yards. Casey Washington had 1 reception for 25 yards. Bijan Robinson had 3 receptions for 23 yards. And for some reason, I don't see Drake London on here, so that is slightly concerning when it comes to the Atlanta passing attack. And defensive-wise, they were not able to apply any pressure to the quarterback whatsoever, only getting 1 sack and not forcing any turnovers as well. Speaking of turnovers, Tua Tagovailoa, he went 20 of 26, 205 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. If you're allowing that to happen, you know that something's wrong with your defense. On the ground, Devon Achane had 18 carries for 67 yards. Ollie Gordon II was right behind him with 10 carries for 46 yards. Jalen Waddle, he had 5 carries for 5 receptions for 99 yards and a touchdown. Malik Washington had 4 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown. Devon Achane had 5 receptions for 24 yards and a touchdown. And Ollie Gordon II had 1 reception for 20 yards and a touchdown. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine had 1 reception for 18 yards. That's the next most prominent person on that team. And defensive-wise, they were not able to pressure Kirk too much themselves, only recording 1 sack. And that has been a consistent problem for the Dolphins, but that didn't really stop them this time. They were able to protect Tua enough for him to get the ball to his playmakers, and ultimately, they got the upset here. Falcons, it's getting harder to trust you, and especially with the Buccaneers taking a step back, you would think that now's the time for you guys to strike. But ultimately, y'all lost to the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are garbage. So, have fun living with this loss. Dolphins, nice win. Highly doubt that you're going to compile this win into momentum to try to beat the Baltimore Ravens this coming Thursday night, but who knows? I've seen weirder at this point in the NFL's history. Next up, we have the Bears versus the Ravens. The Ravens actually surprisingly beat the Bears in this matchup. The Lamar Jackson-less Ravens. Tyler Huntley, who started at quarterback for the Ravens, he went 17 of 22, 186 yards and 1 touchdown through the air. On the ground, it was a Derrick Henry show. He had 21 carries for 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Huntley also had 8 carries for 53 yards. Receiving-wise, Zay Flower led the team with 7 receptions for 63 yards through the air. Rashad Bateman had 2 receptions for 51 yards. Mark Andrews had 3 receptions for 34 yards. DeAndre Hopkins had 1 reception for 14 yards. And Charlie Kohler had 1 reception for 10 yards and a touchdown. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback once, and they were only able to sack Caleb Williams once. From what I remember, it was more just the Bears shooting themselves in the foot rather than the Ravens defense playing out of this world. Speaking of the Bears, Caleb Williams, he went 25 of 38, 285 yards, and 1 interception through the air. On the ground, he also had 3 carries for 24 yards. DeAndre Swift had 11 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, Rome Odunze had 7 receptions for 114 yards. DJ Moore had 4 receptions for 73 yards. Colston Loveland had 3 receptions for 38 yards. Olamide Zaccheaus had 7 receptions for 33 yards. And DeAndre Swift had 2 receptions for 26 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback twice. But they were not able to apply consistent enough pressure to try to throw off Tyler Huntley and this Baltimore offense. So ultimately, it kind of just came down to who wanted it more, and the Bears kept shooting themselves in the foot. And it's going to be interesting to see how they try to bounce back this week against the Bengals, who have looked okay, but they lost against the Jets this past weekend, which we'll get into. And then they got the Giants and the Vikings. So they have a couple games where they can win and start to bolster their win record so they can stay in the hunt for the playoffs in the NFC picture. But at the same time, y'all shouldn't have lost to this Ravens team. They didn't even have Lamar Jackson. So it's more of a wait and see how they kind of look against the Bengals this kind of weekend thing. And Ravens, y'all get Lamar back on Thursday night, so I don't think y'all will have too much of a problem anymore. It'll just be interesting to see how this offense tries to click again with Lamar back in the saddle. Next up, we have the Jets versus the Bengals, which I've already alluded to, with the New York Jets getting their first win on the season, upsetting the Cincinnati Bengals 39-38. I mean, Justin Fields had himself a day. He went 21 of 32, 244 yards, and 1 touchdown through the air. Breece Hall also had 1 completion off of 1 attempt for 4 yards and a touchdown through the air. He also, on the ground, dominated. He had 18 carries for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns. Justin Fields also had 11 carries for 31 yards as well. Isaiah Davis had 7 carries for 65 yards as well. Tyler Johnson was their lead receiver with Garrett Wilson being out. He had 3 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Davis had 5 receptions for 44 yards. Mason Taylor had 5 receptions for 34 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Williams had 3 receptions for 31 yards. And really, we're getting into like plumbers and and carpenters the more that we go down this list. Defensive-wise, they only were able to get 1 sack off of the old soul of Joe Flacco, and they weren't able to force any turnovers, so that also did not help their case too much, but they did get the win, so I'm not going to really harp on it too much. Joe Flacco, the man himself, he went 21 of 34, 223 yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air. He also had 2 carries for 14 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Samaje Perine was their lead rusher with 9 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. And Chase Brown had 12 carries for 73 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Receiving-wise, Jamar Chase had 12 receptions for 91 yards. T. Higgins had 1 reception for 44 yards and a touchdown. Noah Fant had 3 receptions for 41 yards. Chase Brown had 3 receptions for 32 yards and a touchdown. And Tanner Hudson had 1 reception for 9 yards. Defensive-wise, they weren't able to get any sacks on Justin Fields. He was just too elusive today in the backfield. And they weren't able to get any turnovers as well. So ultimately, this was a gritty win by the Jets, with them having to score 23 points in the fourth quarter, after only scoring 16 in the previous 3 quarters before this. So, yeah, gutsy win by the Jets. Ultimately, their first and might be their only win on the season. And the Bengals, what are you guys doing? I mean, you guys beat the Steelers, and now you guys lost to the Jets. I don't know what this Bengals team is anymore. If you want me to be honest, if they want a shot to make the playoffs with Joe Burrow, this game was the layup, and they completely botched it. Next up, we got the Bills-Panthers. I'm going to blitz through this one. The Buffalo Bills beat the Panthers 40-9. Josh Allen went 12 of 19, 163 yards, and 1 touchdown through the air. He also had 3 carries for 7 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. This was really the, I guess I can mention Mitchell Trubisky since he's still around. He went 2 for 4 for 22 yards through the air. This was really the James Cook show, though. He had 19 carries for 216 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. Through the air, did he have any? I don't don't see him through the air. I thought he had a touchdown through the air. Never mind. Khalil Shakir was the lead receiver today. He had 6 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown. Keon Coleman had 3 receptions for 30 yards. Dalton Kincaid had 1 reception for 23 yards. Jackson Halls had 2 receptions for 15 yards, and Dawson Knox had 1 reception for 15 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback once, and they were able to apply a little bit of consistent pressure to him, recording around 4, maybe 5 sacks there. So, ultimately, this defense showed up to play, and this running game showed up to play against the Panthers today. Panthers, obviously, without Bryce Young, had Andy Dalton starting today, the old man. He went 16 for 24, 175 yards, and 1 interception through the air. On the ground, which is where the Panthers have seen a lot of their success, Rico Dowell was pretty quiet. He had 8 carries for 54 yards. Chuba Hubbard had 12 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, Terrato McMillan had 7 receptions for 99 yards. He was their lead receiver. Jalen Coker had 3 receptions for 36 yards. Jatavion Sanders had 3 receptions for 19 yards. Xavier Legette had 2 receptions for 17 yards, and Tommy Tremble had 1 reception for 4 yards. Defensive-wise, they could not stop a stiff breeze. They registered, I guess, 2 sacks on the quarterback. It was probably on Josh. And ultimately, they were not able to get any turnovers to try to cut this giant deficit down just even a little bit. So, ultimately, nice win by the Bills. I don't even know what to say about the Panthers. Better luck next time, I guess. Texans-Niners. The Houston Texans beat the San Francisco 49ers 26-15. Mac Jones went 19 for 32, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey also had 8 carries for 25 yards. Mac Jones had 2 carries for 23 yards. Through the air, their lead receiver was Juwan Jennings with 4 receptions for 45 yards. Kendrick Bourne had 3 receptions for 44 yards. George Kittle had 4 receptions for 43 yards and a touchdown on National Tight Ends Day. Christian McCaffrey had 3 receptions for 43 yards, and that's anybody else of note, realistically. And defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback once, but they were not able to register a single sack, so they were not able to get any form of pressure on C.J. Stroud today. And through C.J. Stroud's numbers, it kind of shows. Stroud went 30 for 39, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception through the air. He also had 7 carries for 30 yards on the ground. Jaquavius Marks had 11 carries for 62 yards. He was their lead rusher. Nick Chubb had 17 carries for 56 yards. Their lead receiver was Xavier Hutchinson with 5 receptions for 69 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Noel had 5 receptions for 63 yards. Jaquavius Marks had 4 receptions for 49 yards. Braxton Berrios had 5 receptions for 38 yards. Jaden Higgins had 4 receptions for 34 yards and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz had 2 receptions for 24 yards. And realistically, as we just keep going, it's like the same people have like 2 receptions for like around 20 or less yards. So, yeah. C.J. Stroud was able to sling the rock around to a lot of people. And this defense was able to apply a little bit of pressure, getting 3 sacks. But it probably really wasn't enough to keep this away from being a close game. But they were able to force a interception of Mac Jones. So ultimately, I guess that did help create some form of a buffer zone between the two teams and their scores. So ultimately, it was a nice win by the Texans, it looks like. Probably would have hoped that this defense would have stepped up a little bit. And 49ers, better luck next time, I guess. Maybe get the running game going a little bit more. You guys seem to be more successful that way. So good luck for whoever you face this coming weekend. Next up, we have the Browns versus Patriots. This is one I'm going to blitz through as well. similar to what the Browns defensive line did to the Patriots offensive line. But anyway, Drake May, he went 18 of 24. Oh, wait, sorry, did I even say the score of the game? I don't think I did. The Patriots beat the Browns 32-13. Drake May went 18 of 24, 282 yards and 3 touchdowns with 1 interception through the air. On the ground, he also had 7 carries for 50 yards. Trevion Henderson was their lead back this week with 10 carries for 75 yards. Ramondre Stevenson also had 14 carries for 34 yards. Receiving-wise, Mac Hollins led the team with 7 receptions for 89 yards. Kayshon Boutte had 3 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown. Demario Douglas had 1 reception for 44 yards. Austin Hooper had 2 receptions for 38 yards. And just because it was his first touchdown with the Patriots, Stephon Diggs had 3 receptions for 14 yards and a touchdown. And let's go with Hunter Henry since it was National Tight Ends Day. He had 1 reception for 7 yards and a touchdown through the air. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the rookie Dillon Gabriel twice, and were only able to apply moderate pressure to the quarterback a little bit. So, ultimately, probably not the best outing for this Patriots defense. Dillon Gabriel himself, he went 21 of 35, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions through the air. He also had 1 carry for 13 yards on the ground. Their lead rusher was Malachi Corley. He had 1 carry for 31 yards. Quinshon Judkins had a quiet day. He had 9 carries for 19 yards. And realistically, I'm not going to mention anybody else on that pretty long list. Harold Fanning Jr. had 6 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown. David Njoku had 4 receptions for 37 yards and a touchdown on National Tight End Day. And Jamari Thrash had 2 receptions for 31 yards. Dylan Sampson had 5 receptions for 29 yards. And nobody else had a single reception. Defensive-wise, the person that led the charge was Myles Garrett with his 5 sacks. That's insane. And for them not to get the win, that's insane. Obviously, they intercepted the quarterback once, and Myles Garrett went through this Patriots offensive line like butter. So, yeah. Browns, I don't know what to really tell you guys at this point. Ultimately, I do feel like the offense is mediocre at best. You guys can't get a passing game going. Y'all can't get a running game going. And your defense continues to show up week in and week out, especially Myles Garrett. Patriots, it's a little bit concerning that one player can gash your entire offensive line. But we're just going to have to wait and see how that kind of affects you later down the line against better teams, in my opinion. Next up, we have another game that we're going to blitz through. These next few we're going to blitz through pretty fast. Buccaneers Saints. Buccaneers beat the Saints 23-3. Baker Mayfield won 15 for 24, 152 yards. Rushing-wise, Sean Tucker led the way with 12 carries for 42 yards and a touchdown. Rachaad White had 13 carries for 35 yards. Receiving, Ches Johnson led the way at 5 receptions for 43 yards. K. Dotton had 4 receptions for 40 yards. Emeka Mbuka had 3 receptions for 35 yards. And Rachaad White had 2 receptions for 26 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback twice, and they were able to sack the quarterback a total of 5 times, applying consistent enough pressure to get after the guy. During this game, the Saints both had Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough start at some point. Spencer Rattler, I think, who started the game, went 15 for 21. 136 yards and 1 interception. Tyler Shough didn't do much better himself. He went 17 for 30, 128 yards and 1 interception. Alvin Kamara had 6 carries for 21 yards. Tyler Shough had 3 carries for 12 yards, and Spencer Rattler had 3 carries for 12 yards. Their lead receiver was Rashid Shaheed with 9 receptions for 79 yards. Chris Olave had 8 receptions for 63 yards. And Juwan Johnson had 5 receptions for 55 yards. And I'll mention Alvin Kamara had 2 receptions for 24 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able only to sack the quarterback, it looks like, 3-4 times. So they were able to put a little bit of pressure on Baker to make him uncomfortable, but just not enough to force any turnovers to cut down this lead by the Buccaneers. And ultimately, Bucs, you guys beat up on a bad team. And Saints, you guys are now starting your rookie quarterback. Colts, Titans. Colts beat the Titans 38-14. Daniel Jones went 21 of 29, 272 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. Riley Leonard, the rookie out of Notre Dame, eventually came in. He went 0 for 2, but still, he eventually came in, which is kind of cool. Jonathan Taylor absolutely decimated them again. He had 12 carried for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Through the air, he also had 2 receptions for 21 yards and a touchdown. Sticking to on the ground, Daniel Jones had 1 carry for 3 yards, and Riley Leonard had 1 carry for 1 yard. Receiving-wise, Michael Pittman, he had 8 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown. Alec Pierce had 2 receptions for 69 yards. Tyler Warren, 4 receptions for 53 yards. And Josh Downs had 3 receptions for 39 yards and a touchdown. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback quite a few times. It looks like 5 total times. And were able to force 1 interception by the rookie Cam Ward, ultimately getting after quarterback a lot to put themselves ahead. Speaking of Cam Ward, he went 22 of 38, 259 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception on the day. Rushing-wise, the lead rusher was Tyjae Spears with 9 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown. Tony Pollard had 11 carries for 44 yards. And that's really anybody else of note. Receiving-wise, their top receiver was Shamir Dyke with 7 receptions for 93 yards. Chisholm Okonkwo had 4 receptions for 53 yards. Alec Amaneor had 4 receptions for 53 yards. Gunnar Helm had 2 receptions for 23 yards and a touchdown. And Tyjae Spears had 3 receptions for 23 yards. Defensive-wise, they were only able to sack the quarterback 3 times. Probably most of that coming in garbage time, if you want my opinion. So ultimately, they were just not able to apply consistent enough pressure to Daniel Jones to stop this explosive Colts offense. So, Colts, again, another good win. You guys sit upon the league with the best record. And ultimately, Titans, better luck next time. And I'm not sure that you guys will have it next time, but better luck next time. Next up, we have the Broncos versus Cowgirls. Broncos beat the Cowgirls 44-24. Bo Nix went 19 for 29, 47 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception through the air. Rushing-wise, the lead rusher was J.K. Dobbins with 15 carries for 111 yards. R.J. Harvey, though, did the damage touchdown-wise, or points-wise. He had 7 carries for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their lead receiver was Troy Franklin with 6 receptions for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cortland Sutton had 4 receptions for 67 yards. Pat Bryant had 2 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown. Evan Ingram had 4 receptions for 36 yards. J.K. Dobbins had 2 receptions for 10 yards, and R.J. Harvey had 1 reception for 5 yards and a touchdown through the air. Defensive-wise, they intercepted Dak twice and were able to sack the quarterback only a handful of times, like 2 or 3. So it's not like they were able to consistently apply pressure to put Dak on his back. Speaking of Dak, he went 19 of 31, 188 yards, and 2 interceptions on the day. Eventually, Joe Milton must have came in. He went 3 for 4 for 58 yards and a touchdown. So there you go. Javonte Williams, he had 13 carries for 41 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Dak Prescott had 6 carries for 31 yards, and Jaden Blue had 8 carries for 29 yards as well. George Pickens, was their lead receiver with 7 receptions for 78 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 7 receptions for 74 yards. Jalen Tolbert had 2 receptions for 47 yards and a touchdown, and Luke Shoemaker had 2 receptions for 25 yards. Nobody else of note on that list. And defensive-wise, they were able to intercept Bo Nix once, but they did not record a single sack. So they were missing that pass rush that they would normally get with somebody like a Micah Parsons or something. So, yeah. Ultimately, Broncos went out and dominated, and Dak Prescott and the Cowboys folded against a team that they said that they could win against. So, let's hope that y'all win this coming week. Next up, we have Sunday Night Football, that being the Packers and Steelers. The Packers beat the Steelers 35-25. Jordan Love went 29 of 37, 330 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the day. Rushing-wise, their lead rusher was Emmanuel Wilson for some reason. He had 11 carries for 61 yards. Josh Jacobs, though, had 13 carries for 33 yards and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Tucker Kraft with 7 receptions for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns on National Tight Ends Day. Holy Jesus. Christian Watson was right behind him with 4 receptions for 85 yards. Romeo Doubs had 3 receptions for 44 yards. Malik Heath had 3 receptions for 29 yards. And Emmanuel Wilson had 3 receptions for 26 yards. My apologies. And look at that. Savion Williams had 1 reception for 8 yards and a touchdown. So there you go. All right. Defensive-wise, they were able to sack the quarterback 3 times, but they were not able to apply consistent enough pressure to throw Phil Rogers off his game. Speaking of Rogers, he went 24 of 36, 219 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. Jaylen Warren was their lead back. He had 13 carries for 62 yards. Kenny Gainwell also had 5 carries for 31 yards. Their lead receiver was Roman Wilson with 4 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. DK Metcalf had 5 receptions for 55 yards and a touchdown. Calvin Austin had 4 receptions for 28 yards. Johnny Smith, 2 receptions for 17 yards. And Ben Skowronek had 1 reception for 13 yards. So, there you go. And defensive-wise, they did not register a single sack and did not force any turnovers as well to try to cut down this small deficit. So ultimately, the story was, to me, is the Steelers' defense can stay with anybody, but it's the Steelers' defense that really needs a lot of help, and that is aging worse than the offense at this point. Offense kind of has an identity, defense not so much. So, ultimately, Packers, it was a good win. Steelers, you guys are still in the lead in your division, but you guys just aren't as crisp as you guys looked a few weeks back. So, hopefully, y'all can find a way to bounce back against teams like the Colts and the Chargers, but it's going to be a tough, tall ask. And things don't get much easier, because after that, you play the Bengals, Bears, Bills, and Ravens. So, ultimately, time to buckle down. Now's the time for AFC football to start being played at its finest. Lastly, this is going to be a quick game here. We got the Chiefs-Commanders. This was kind of a blowout. Chiefs beat the Commanders 28-7. Patrick Mahomes went 25 of 34, 299 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the day. Rushing-wise, Isaiah Pacheco led the team with 12 carries for 58 yards. Kareem Hunt had 9 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown, though. Mahomes himself had 4 carries for 30 yards on the ground. So there you go. Receiving-wise, their lead receiver was Travis Kelce with 6 receptions for 99 yards and a touchdown. Rashid Rice had 9 receptions for 93 yards and a touchdown. Xavier Worthy had 5 receptions for 53 yards, and Juju Smith-Schuster had 2 receptions for 29 yards. That's really anybody of note left on that list there. And defensive-wise, they were able to intercept the quarterback, or Marcus Mariota, once, and they were able to sack the quarterback only twice. It felt like they were able to pressure him more consistently based off of watching the game, but I guess maybe it wasn't as much as I thought it was. Marcus Mariota went 21 of 30, 213 yards, and 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions on the day. Marcus Mariota was also their lead rusher with 8 carries for 28 yards. Ja'Cory Krusky had 9 carries for 25 yards. And that's anybody else of note there. Jeremy McNichols had 5 receptions for 64 yards. Terry McLaurin had 3 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. Luke McCaffrey had 3 receptions for 24 yards. John Bates had 1 reception for 22 yards. Ben Sinnott had 1 reception for 22 yards. Zach Ertz had 4 receptions for 16 yards. And Deebo Samuel had 3 receptions for 11 yards. Defensive-wise, they were able to intercept Mahomes once. And they were able to sack Mahomes. Oh, sorry, they intercepted Mahomes twice. Yeah, they intercepted Mahomes twice, and they were able to sack the quarterback thrice or 3 times. So they were able to get a little bit of pressure on Mahomes, probably just not as much as they had hoped. Alright, so that's it for this past weekend's games. Some of the quick notes that I have here are it's a little bit more light on the news front this past week. As we were going through this episode, we had breaking news. The Lions and Aiden Hutchinson agree on a 4-year contract extension for the Pro Bowl edge rusher. So ultimately, Hutch is not going anywhere. Hutch is there to stay for the next 5 to 4 years. But speaking of people that could move, the NFL trade deadline is next Tuesday, November 4th, before I will see you again. So there's a possibility that we could see some names on the move, and here's some that I think. Trey Hendrickson, I believe, could be on the move and could get traded to a team like the 49ers, Colts, or Cowboys, teams that don't have that high of a salary cap space, and ultimately could finagle a 1-year contract with Hendrickson to bring in the superstar to add depth at the edge rusher position for them. Bradley Chubb could be on the move from Miami. There's rumors that he could look really nice in midnight green under his former defensive coordinator Vic Fangio here at the Eagles. Had his best statistical season under Fangio, so it wouldn't be a shock if Chubb is on the move that the Eagles are in talks to possibly bring in the edge rusher. Justin Fields, he could be on the move based off it. Although he had a pretty good week this past weekend, he's just not proved to be consistent when it comes to that, and this is the team's first win. So if he's on the move, I think he should go to the Vikings, honestly, to back up J.J. McCarthy. And so Kevin O'Connell can maybe be like the quarterback whisperer and try to fix him in some way. All right, so who are my top 5 teams going into this weekend and why? I'll give you number 5. Number 5, you have your Philadelphia Eagles. Why? The Eagles have been proving themselves as more of a consistent team, and their offense has looked more consistent than it did earlier this season. I would like to see this defense be a little bit more stout, but ultimately, coming off of the bye, I could really see them come out and explode for the rest of the season and ultimately end only with 3 or 4 losses on their record. So, yeah, I have the Eagles coming here at number 5 based off of their play on offense and how consistent it has been over the past few weeks. At number 4, I have the Bills. Again, similar to the Eagles, they had a couple games slide. They're coming back now, and they are just going to find a way to win and then string these wins together. They have a big game against the Chiefs this weekend, which could go either way, and so it's going to be a big statement win for whichever team comes out on top in Buffalo this weekend. And look, if the Bills win this weekend, maybe they slide up ahead of the Chiefs. where I have them. And maybe the Bills are a top 2 or top 1 team in the NFL. We'll just have to wait and see. Number 3, I have to give them respect, although I don't think they're that scary. It is the Indianapolis Colts. They do football amazingly on all cylinders. On all facets of the game, with all cylinders constantly working as smoothly as possible. Offense, if you break that down, offensive line, rushing game, pass protecting. If you look at the bigger picture, ultimately they are one of the more consistent teams, and they are one of the better teams week in and week out. And the one loss that they have to the Rams, yes, the Rams are a good team, but it was more them shooting themselves in the foot than anything. They could have easily won that by 1 score. But they shot themselves in the foot with an interception and a dropped ball before the receiver crossed the goal line. So, ultimately, it's on them to write their own destiny from here on out. And number 2, I have the Chiefs. They continue on an upward trajectory, and although like I already said, they face the Bills, the winner of that could prove who's the best team in the NFL right now. Their next stretch isn't that easy. You got Bills, Broncos, Colts, Cowboys. We're going to see if the Colts are real here, and we're going to find out if the Bills are real here as well. So, ultimately, these two teams I can see going at it, and I find that the Chiefs have earned their spot at number 2 here on my rankings this season in going into Week 9. At number 1, I have the Lions. They just completely decimated the last time that we saw them. And them coming back this week against a battered-up Vikings, it's just going to add to their win column, and I can't really hate on them for that. So, this week I have them at number 1, as they kind of deserve, and as they were last week as well. So, or last couple weeks I've had them at 1. Last week I didn't do this segment. This week I'm doing the segment. So, Lions at 1. So, for a recap, I have Lions at 1, Chiefs at 2, Colts at 3, Bills at 4, and Eagles at 5. Alright, so last week I didn't do so hot in my picks. I went 8-5, and my overall prediction record on the season is now 79-41. So, without a further ado, let's hop right into it. Thursday Night Football might be a massacre with Lamar Jackson making a return to the Ravens. This one is a no-brainer. Give me the Ravens beating the Dolphins pretty badly. 40-21. 40-21, yeah. Bengals, Bears. My heart says Bears, but my brain says Bengals, so I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going to pick the Bengals here to shred this Bears defense and ultimately find their footing again, especially after losing to the Jets. Although that makes me hesitant, give me the Bengals with Joe Flacco under center. I think he's going to sling this rock all over this Chicago defense, and ultimately he will just find a way to win. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a somewhat low-scoring game. I think it's going to be 24-13. Vikings, Lions. This is going to be another massacre. Give me the Lions beating the Vikings. Give me the Lions beating the Vikings. 31-17. 31-17 Lions. Panthers, Packers. Give me the Packers here again. I just feel like the Panthers are not in a space right now to really contend. And until Bryce Young stays healthy, I'm not even sure who's starting at quarterback for them this weekend. Until Bryce Young can stay healthy, then they might win my vote, but till then, I'm going to bet against them. Give me the Packers beating them in probably a close game, 27-24. Chargers, Titans. Give me the Chargers. I think this is just a match made in heaven for the Chargers for them to pick up another win and advance to 6-3 on the season. And Titans, it's going to be a rough one for Cam Ward, if you want me to be honest. So give me the Chargers winning 35 to 20. 35 to 20. Titans will get some garbage time points. Falcons, Patriots. Give me the Patriots. I do not trust the Falcons whatsoever. And I definitely trust the Patriots more. So give me the Patriots over the Falcons in what may be a close match. 28 to 24. 49ers, Giants. Give me the 49ers. I think the Giants have lost their spark now. And I think ultimately they might keep it close with the 49ers, but it's just not going to be as good as it used to be. So give me the 49ers beating the Giants. What's a fair score? 31 to 21. Colts, Steelers. Give me the Colts. I can't really bet against the Colts because they've been on a roll. Until I see them start to trip up again, it's going to be hard for me to bet against them. So give me the Colts beating the Steelers in another close shootout match, 35 to 31. Broncos, Texans. Give me the Broncos. I think this defense shuts down C.J. Stroud and ultimately forces like 2 to 3 interceptions by Stroud. And the Broncos will capitalize off of that as they have in the past. So give me the Broncos winning in a defensive dominant game, 24 to 17. No, more than that. 27 to 17. Yeah. Jaguars, Raiders. Give me the Jaguars here. I think the Jaguars need this win. They're going to find a way to bounce back. Coming off of a bye week, and ultimately I just have a little bit more faith in the Jaguars right now. So give me the Jags finding a way to win in the black hole in Nevada. 28 to 20. Rams, Saints. Give me the Rams. I mean, Tyler Shuck is getting his first start in the season. And I guess he didn't look that good according to his stats. And the Rams are coming off of a bye week. It's Sean McVay coming off of a bye week. It's going to be hard to bet against them. So give me the Rams beating up on the Saints pretty badly. 38 to 7. Yeah, 38 to 7. Bills, Chiefs. Give me the Bills. I think the Bills just constantly find a way to win against the Chiefs in the regular season. I don't have a question about that. It's whether they can win in the postseason against the Chiefs. So give me the Bills beating, and I guess technically upsetting the Chiefs based off of the betting lines here. Give me the Bills and Josh Allen against the world, finding a way to beat the Chiefs in Buffalo in a last-second field goal. I don't know. 30 to 27. 30 to 27. Seahawks, Commanders on Sunday night. Give me the Seahawks. Commanders just have not proven themselves to be a good team this season. And yes, they've put up some points, but it hasn't been consistent enough to beat good teams. And to me, the Seahawks are a good team. Coming off of a bye week on prime time. Yeah, give me Seattle here by a decent margin. Give me Seattle 38 to 20 against the Commanders. And lastly, we have Monday Night Football, and I'm going to predict the upset here. I'm going to take the Cardinals over the Cowboys in Jerry World. Kyler plays his best football against the Cowboys in Dallas. So give me Kyler and the Cardinals upsetting Dak and the Cowgirls in a last-second field goal win, 27, no, 24 to 21. 24 to 21. With Jonathan Gannon knowing Dak Prescott and what he likes, especially after years of being the Eagles' defensive coordinator, I just feel like he will ultimately find a system that will work best for his defense this week. Alright, so that's it for this episode of the Flying with the Fly podcast. I want to thank you guys for stopping in once again. Follow us on Twitter for all updates if I send out any, or just to interact with me as well. It's been a nice episode, and I will catch you guys next week. Have a happy and safe Halloween, as usual. And I got one last thing I gotta leave you with. Always remember, go Birds.